Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Vibha, a mathematics teacher in India and a huge edtech enthusiast. It gives me immense pleasure to share tidbits of information with others. Let's dive right into today's video. In my previous video, I discussed about the types of questions that can be added to a Google form. If you haven't watched that video, do have a look. If you see, I have a Google form here with different types of questions. Today, we're going to convert this Google form into a quiz, send it to our students, collect their responses and analyze their responses. I'm going to this settings icon on top. Let's go through all these settings one by one. First is collect email addresses. If I check on this, the email addresses of all my respondents will be saved automatically. Another option under this is response receipts. My respondents will receive a receipt, that is, they'll receive a copy of the responses they've filled up in my Google form through an email. So I can choose accordingly if I always want to send out a response receipt or only when the respondent requests for it. Let's come to the next setting, limit to one response. If I check on this, a person will not be able to respond to my Google form more than once. Coming to another section of settings, do I want my respondents to be able to edit the Google form after they have submitted? Or do I want them to be able to see the summary chart of the responses of everybody else who has submitted the Google form? Depends on your situation, you can choose accordingly. Let's move on to the presentation settings. First option is show progress bar. So in this case, since I'm making a quiz, as my students are attempting the questions, they will be able to see a progress bar along with it. The progress bar will help them determine how many questions they have done and how many questions are yet to go. Coming to the second option, shuffle question order. If I check on this, each of my students will get the question order in a different manner. The questions will be shuffled up for each and every one in a different manner. The third option, show link to submit another response. This one works only if we don't limit our Google form to one person. So let me uncheck this one and come back to it. If I don't want to limit my Google form to one response per person, I can check this, and after my respondents have submitted their Google form, they will receive a link to submit another response. Coming to the fourth option here, confirmation message. So this is the message which I want my respondents to see after they submit the quiz. If I don't write anything here, this is a default message which will be shown to all the respondents. I can customize this at my own will. I've added a message for my students. Now coming to a very important setting which will convert my Google form into a quiz. The very first setting, make this a quiz. If I don't turn this on, I will not be able to make an answer key for my questions or assign scores to my questions. So make sure when you're making a quiz, you turn this on. And if you see, the total points have started showing up. Right now it's 0. So let's add some points to our questions. We of course don't want to give points to name and class. We want to give points to this question. Let's select this question. Coming at the bottom of this question, there's an option answer key. Clicking on answer key, this is where I'll select the correct answer. So in this case, the correct answer is this one. After choosing the correct answer, I also have to make sure that I choose the points for this question. So let me choose 5 points for this question. I can choose any number of points that I want. After choosing the correct answer and the points, I can also add an answer feedback to this question. So let me click on this and show it to you. I can give my students a feedback for incorrect as well as correct answers. So for an incorrect answer, I want to give an explanation of the question. I can write a text explanation here. If I want, I can attach a link to an important website which explains this concept well. Or I can choose a YouTube video which goes with the explanation of this question. So let me search for one. I have many such options. I can pick one and select. If my students get an incorrect answer, they will be given with this feedback. I can add a feedback for the correct answers as well. So let me give a very good to the ones who get this correct. I can add a link or a YouTube video to this as well. After I'm done, I click on Save. So I have marked the correct answer, given points to this question, given the feedback for answers, and I'm done. If you see, it has started showing up 5 points along with this question. So similarly, we can add answers to many types of questions. Let me quickly add in an answer to this multiple choice grid question. Coming to answer key. The total points for this question have started showing up here. Before moving on to the other types of questions, let me take you back to the settings and discuss the other settings. Clicking on it here, we have discussed the general and presentation settings. Coming to quizzes. So these are some things very important to understand. How do I want to release the grades of my quiz? Do I want my students to be able to see their scores as soon as they submit? This one is suggested for the times when your Google form is made up of multiple choice questions, drop-down questions, checkbox questions, multiple choice grid, or checkbox grid. These are the types of questions that can be automatically marked by Google Forms. In case your Google form consists of short answer questions, paragraph questions, basically the ones which require manual review, you must go for this. Coming to the next section, what do I want my respondents to be able to see after I've released their grades? Do I want them to be able to see the answers which they gave incorrectly? Do I want them to be able to see the correct answers to all the questions? Or do I want them to be able to see the total points of each question and the points they have received for that particular question? Any of these can be checked according to what suits you. After you're done, make sure that you click on Save. Let's come here at the bottom of our quiz. As I discussed, in such questions, we don't have the option to choose the correct answer. We can just choose the points for that question and add an answer feedback to the question. No correct or incorrect, just an answer feedback to the question. Click on Done. Talking about a long answer text. Again, we cannot choose the exact correct answer for a long answer text. We can only choose the points. Add an answer feedback. No incorrect or correct one. And click on Done. For a short answer text, we do have the option to add a correct answer. So if it's a one-word answer and you are sure that your students will get the spelling correct whatsoever, you can choose the correct answer, mark all other answers as incorrect, choose the points for the answer and click on Done. So this is how you convert a Google form into a quiz. Choose the answer key, add answer feedback and give points to the questions. Now let's see the procedure to share the quiz with our students. We go to Send. If you have the email ID of your students, type in the email ID here. This quiz will be sent as an email to your students. So you can choose the subject of your email, you can choose the message which is the email body, You can choose if you want to include the form in the email itself and then click on send. In cases where you don't have the email address of your respondents, you can click on this and get the link to your Google form. I can shorten the URL here and get a short link to my quiz. I can copy it from here and paste it in any message through any social media platform, whatever way I'm connected with my students. This one is for the times when you want to embed the HTML code of this form in a website. You can copy this link and embed it in your website. Now, let's take a look at how the responses get accumulated and how you can analyze the responses of each and every respondent. Just for now, for demo purposes, I have filled up this form 5 times with my own email ID. As you can see here on top, it has started showing up that we have 5 responses. I click on it and this is how I get to see the responses. This is the summary of responses, all frequently missed questions, scores, these are all my same email IDs, the names of the students, the class, answer to every single question summarized in a manner which is easy for me to understand. Coming back on top, question. This is where I can see how my students have responded to a particular question. So I come here, I choose the question which I want to analyze, and that's how I get to see the performance of my students. I can choose any question and check the responses accordingly. Coming to individual, this is where I can see the responses of each and every student individually. From here, I can choose the email ID. For now, this is the only email ID which is there, and I can choose the response of each and every student separately. Let's discuss some other options available here. This is to print the response. This is to delete this response. Coming here on top, if I turn this slider off, my form will stop accepting responses. Any student who wants to submit their quiz now will not be able to do that. Coming to these 3 dots, this option can be chosen to get email notification for every new response your Google form gets. This is to select the response destination. How do you want your responses to be saved? You can create a new spreadsheet or select an existing spreadsheet. For now, I'm creating a new one. All my responses will be linked to this spreadsheet from now on. Coming back here, I can unlink the form from that spreadsheet. I can download all the responses as a CSV file. I can print all the responses all together, or I can delete all the responses. Coming here to this green button, this is the Google Sheets logo. I have the option to view my responses in a Google Sheet. So clicking right here, and my linked Google Sheet opens up. I get to see a timestamp, which student has attempted the quiz at what time, their email addresses, their scores, their name, class. Basically, the answer to each and every question which I had put in my Google form. This is the question and these are the answers given for this question. Similarly, I have all the answers given for all the questions. After I'm done analyzing the responses, I can release the scores from this button. In some cases, I may have to manually review the answers and then give scores. So coming to a time question, this is the correct answer, so I'm going to give 5 on 5. There's no answer given to this question, I can give a 0. And same for this one. Click on save and the scores are saved now. After making sure that I've manually reviewed all such answers, I can click on Release Scores and my students will get the scores through an email. Coming back to summary, I can release the scores of all the students at once with this button. We come to the end of today's video and the third part of my series, How to Convert a Google Form into Quiz. Watch out for my next video where I'll discuss some tips and tricks on how you can make your Google Form quiz a little more productive and a little more fun for our students. Hope that helped. See you.